Hey now, it's a impromptu brace for impact. If you guys can hear me, let me know. If not, I'm just gonna be chatting by myself. But it's your boy Mike Gilbert. I'm going solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA wrestling, and I did an article for the Patreon earlier today. Go to patreon.com/slash the Mike and JD Show, where I discussed the ratings for this week, or for I guess for last week. It was quite surprising. Quite surprising. So let's talk about week one. Let's talk about the week one rating. So week one comes out and we get 200 or 173,000 per Wade Keller with a 0.04 rating in the key demo. That's the 18 to 49 demo. So the demo, for those of you that don't know or don't understand, and I'm learning more as we go along, and I've kind of known this for a little while, but so for the demo, it is for the advertisers. So the advertisers covet that 18 to 49 demo. So that's the most important number for advertisers. That's the most important number for the network. The number that always gets the most attention is the overall viewership. And there was a little bit of a discrepancy, which we talked about last week. There was the initial report of a 95,000, which was, I believe, Thurston just kind of reading the thing from Programming Insider wrong. But the demo was 0.04, which was pretty good. That's a pretty good demo for TNA from 9 to 11 on a Thursday. That's not too bad. And they had a total viewership of 173,000. So this is last week, the debut episode. And that wasn't that good. So we were expecting a much bigger. I was expecting over 200,000. I think most people were expecting over 200,000. And that was kind of a bad sign for a lot of folks because we assumed that the drop off from week one to week two was going to be significant. So we're going into yesterday and we get the week two numbers, and they're at 171,000 per Wade Keller with a 0.03 demo. So a 25% drop, which is not a significant drop because, and Dave Meltzer will tell you, and a lot of guys, my friend Billy from Philly explained, if it gets anything beneath 0.04, it's automatically going to say 0.03. It won't say 0.39, right? So, yeah, while it is a 25% drop, we don't exactly know how significant of a drop that is. But the record will show it's 0.03 in the key demo. And the key demo is very important to both AMC and TNA because I do believe they're splitting revenue on those commercials. And so they need all the commercials they can get. That's why we have 4-minute commercial breaks, which is a pretty, which is like substantial. And so not bad overall. A 1 point drop in the demo, and they only lost 200 or 2,000 viewers week to week, which we had assumed that it would be, upwards of 30 to 40% drop, and it just wasn't. TNA was able to retain 98% of its overall viewership. And if you're TNA and if you're AMC and you were maybe off put a little bit by that first week rating, and we're hoping that it was a little bit bigger because you were assuming that week two would drop significantly, you got to be feeling pretty good because I think a lot of people thought that they'd be over 200 to begin with and they would settle in around 150, 175 from then on out with occasional spikes and occasional drops here and there, which is what happens when you're under 200,000. And but it wasn't that bad. So I think the moral of the story is TNA ratings not great, but not bad either. Like they're doing fine. So a lot of folks who thought that the sky was falling and TNA LOL, TNA is gonna die. That first week episode was so bad, no one's ever gonna come back and watch the show again. Completely wrong. Now the night of the debut episode, I was like, yeah, this is really bad, and I know some people aren't gonna come back, but I was like, I took the position of I don't think it's going to greatly impact the rest of the episodes because some people like that shit. So I was like, I think what TNA doesn't really like. I think it like plays well on a lot of TV. Like if you're a hardcore wrestling fan and like your favorite thing is just like the matches, that's not going to be your thing. What TNA does isn't for you. TNA is just like producing a television show And they do have good matches, and they had them last week. But that's not what their TV show's about. It's just kind of like, it's goofy shit, silliness, some action here and there, and they try to get in some drama. They try to hit all the boxes. And for those of you that say it's WWE light, I think that's a pretty good description of what TNA does. It's like WWE light, and they're going after that WWE audience. I can't stand that, but that's just the truth. Um, so not bad, but I do got to address something else that happened like last night, like right before I was about to go back to bed. And I do apologize for the audio again. I have microphones out my ass. Not right now, but like I have a lot. I have two microphones that work, and I planned on doing a podcast in my office at home, but I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just do it whenever I get back from the barber shop. So I made an appointment at the barber shop and left my house, and I got here, and now there's an hour wait. So I'm just sitting in the parking lot doing a podcast. So I was like, I might as well just be productive. So that's why I'm just on my phone doing a quick live stream. Thanks to everybody that's for being here. So, and I'll get to the chats here in a sec. I know they're popping up on the screen, but I'll try to address some of them. I can actually see them this time, so that's good. But so last night before bed, I think around 9 o'clock, somebody tweeted me. I can't remember the guy's name. Something Stinger on Twitter said, "Hey Mike, US TV DB. That's US Television Database, the website that tracks ratings for all the cable and all the TV shows, and they track ratings for network shows, and they do their own rankings. They had TNA listed, the debut episode from January 15th, they had it listed as 279,000. Now, that website, that is a legitimate ratings aggregation site that a lot of the trade publications, Variety, Hollywood Reporter, a lot of those places reference when they're going to get ratings information, because what that site does, and I learned a little bit more about it last night, what that site does is it tracks trends for not only TV shows, but they track trends for cable networks. So when all the reports were coming out after the AMC deal got announced, there were the numbers for AMC's average viewership. That's where they got that from, that website. That's what that site is. So I'm like, this is a legitimate site, but that number is significantly off of the reported number from the PW Torch. And Wade Keller is a legit guy. He's a serious guy. He's not making shit up. So I was like, what is going on here? So I posted the numbers, and the screenshot from the website said, hey, this website, which is a legit site, is stating these numbers. And I was like, I don't know what this means, and I don't know what's real anymore. And so I actually went into that website, and on the TNA Impact page, they have their own page, which is now bookmarked in my phone because it took me forever to find it. On that page, they have a comment section. So I posted the comments like, hey, how come there's such a disparity between 173 from the media and the 279 from this website? Please explain. And then I go to bed. Like, a lot of people like quote tweeted it. I got David Pinzer involved. Dave Meltzer's talking about it. People were sending it to Brandon Thurston, trying to figure this whole thing out. I go to bed and I wake up in the morning, and the website had updated, and they got the number of 173 on there. So essentially, I snitched on TNA. They were looking real good for a night. So they were looking really fucking good. But it turns out the 173 number is legit. So even US TV DB, like, they didn't post it because I said something. They probably just they had that number. It was the wrong number, and they looked into it, and then they got the real number and they posted it. So we all, as an audience, we affected change last night. Because did I want that number to be true? Yes, that would be a great number for TNA. 279 were that's a competitive number. So it was great. That would be a great number. 173 is like we're keeping our head above water. We're not going to die. We're probably going to do decently well on this network. And if you could stay consistent, you might get yourself into another, an extension, right? But I don't think you're going to get a significant raise or anything like that. All right, let me get to the chat, guys. Gonna get to the chat here. Let's see. So it says, I caught negative BQ review of TNA Impact last Thursday. He mostly had positive things to say about the show. Yeah, I can confirm that BQ liked it. So I think Last week's show was universally praised, I would say, for sure. Justin Johnson says consistency is key. I agree. They got to be consistent. Keep doing good shows. Justin also says, I think a lot of people also came back for more LOA TNA material. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some of those. And you know the types. They were on Twitter talking shit. They were like bagging it on everything on the show. And then afterwards, like it was universally praised and like now they know what to do with themselves. It's weird. Um, let's see. Paul Matthews. Do they not announce that the app numbers? No, they do not. In fact, no app other than sometimes Netflix and occasionally Max, depending on if the number's great, most apps don't release their numbers. It's like an issue across the board. They are tracked. They do have the numbers. They just choose not to release them. So AMC Plus is not releasing the numbers. They're not going to like. Why would they be different than any other major app? Like Paramount released the UFC numbers over the weekend, but that's a press release. They're not going to do that every time. So that was just because like they're just trying to get more people to sign in. Like, hey, look at this cool thing. It's being successful. You should join in on the fun. That kind of deal. So I don't think that that's going to happen with these guys. Let's see. Lil Silva says TNA Wrestling does not typically announce specific verified ratings or viewership numbers for the TNA Plus app to the public. No, the only thing that we know, which is data from like half a year ago from Carlos Silva, is that there were 21,000 subscribers to TNA Plus, and that's all we know. But we don't know how many of those subscribers actually watch the show. I would assume that if you're paying for the app for the TNA Plus and you're part of that 21,000, I would assume that like 90% of the people that pay for the app actually watch the show. There are some people that just like let the app, they have so many apps they forget which ones they're paying for. Like you do have those. So I'd be like 90%. I would say comfortably 90% of the people that subscribe, like this is me just pulling numbers out of my ass. Like I'm just making it up, but like I don't have the data because nobody releases it. But that's what I would assume. Like I think that's pretty fair. That's pretty safe, right? I don't think that's like a crazy number. But yeah, so that was the ratings. I should be back later tonight on Patreon for the Patreon exclusive TNA Impact on Pop from 10 years ago this week. We got the Feast or Fired results. We're out. We had the match and the results. And somebody's favorite dancing Scotsman gets fired. And it was actually a good scene. I thought they filmed it pretty well, although the audio was, in true TNA fashion, the audio was jacked up. But 10 years ago this week, Impact on Pop. Also 10 years ago this week, Impact on Pop was the debut of Rosemary and Decay as a faction. So Rosemary, Crazy Steve, and Abyss, they came out to confront the Wolves, and then they came out later in the evening for another beatdown. So that is what I watched last night. So tonight I'm going to do my review. TNA Impact on Pop from 10 years ago this week. I'll be reviewing that tonight. So head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show for that. And then if any news breaks between now and then, I'll be sure to cover it. If you guys came here hoping I'm covering that Mr. Elegant signed a contract, I'm not doing it. That's not important. Like, he seems like a good guy. He might be a talented guy. But we don't need a press release from Mr. fucking Elegance, okay? MLK ML Kid says, what happened to Grado? He started doing like reality shows in Scotland and kind of essentially quit wrestling for the most part. He does shows here and there. I think he was on AEW whenever they went to the UK at one point. And he was there for when TNA went to the UK right before they switched over. So yeah. All right. Let's see. We got some more folks in the chat. What's good, Corporate Mike and the BFI crew? TNA is in good shape and need to keep it rolling. Yeah, look, the ratings aren't like, it's not a home run, right? They're hitting like singles and doubles, I would say. They're doing okay. They're right at the number that I assumed that they would be settling in at. And we'll see what next week is like. So this time next week, we might be having a different conversation because one of the reasons why I thought that the rating wouldn't drop significantly is because they had Guardians of the Galaxy as a lead-in. And that's a big movie. The week before was not Exorcist. What is it called? The one with Denzel Washington, The Equalizer Part Two. So not even the first one, the sequel. Right, that was a big movie, but it's not Guardians big, right? Well, this coming up week is Independence Day from 1996. Now, I love that movie. That's a great movie. But it's not even the 4th of July. Like, nobody watches that movie outside of July. So I don't think that that was a good pick for this week. What I would like for AMC to do, like if they were just like, hey, Mike, how do we maximize the TNA rating? You know, AEW fans they don't like to talk about this, but one of the biggest contributors to their rating is their lead-in, which is Big Bang Theory. And Big Bang Theory is one of the top-rated shows to this day on cable. Last night it was rated number 2, or last Thursday night it was the second highest rated show on all of cable, behind Impractical Jokers. So what I would like for them to do would be to put one of their hit shows, even a rerun show, on as the lead-in for TNA. Specifically, Breaking Bad. I think it would be so cool if they just re-aired Breaking Bad in succession week by week on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. on AMC, starting with episode 1, and just go all the way through and until it's over each week. And I think that would really help the TNA rating. Is that fair or unfair? I don't know. Ask AEW if it's fair or unfair that they get a big rating each week because of the lead-in from Big Bang Theory. And then whenever they don't have Big Bang Theory, there's always a significant drop-off, right? So I think that would help, right? Ultimately, TNA has to perform better. They need to sign bigger stars. They just don't have the money, but it'd be nice. But Lil Silver says they could put on Walking Dead for sure. And Dre, I'm not saying what you just said there, buddy. I love you though. All right, guys, I got to get in for my haircut. That's gonna do it for me. Head over to Patreon, motherfuckers.